But let's look at this. You tell me again if this foul was on Lexi Hall. That foul was absolutely not on Lexi Hall. Absolutely not on Lexi Hall. Like the person leaning into that ran into Lexi Hall, it was Dejanay Carrington the whole entire time. Now the game is tied 36-36. Lexi Hall leaves. They put in Katie Lou Samuelson, and then the Fever are going into halftime down 8 instead of actually potentially leading by a lot more than that. So this was the moment. This where the Fever lost this game. Hi everyone, this is APO Sports, and this is our post-game reaction to Game 1 of the playoffs between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, where the Sun beat the Fever 93-69. So, a huge beatdown. They got crushed. They got destroyed. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what happened, what were some of the things that went wrong, which pretty much everything went wrong. But this is somewhat of a weird game too, because the Sun, I don't know, like it seems like the roles were inversed, or the script was flipped, in that the Sun was playing a lot more like the Fever, and the Fever was playing more like they were the Sun. The the Sun, they were hitting every shot. They typically don't hit that many shots. As we kind of talked about in the preview, they had one of the worst field goal percentages. They have one of the worst 3-point percentages, and in this game, they were just lights out. Right, they were hitting everything. Everything was dropping. It seemed like every play was pretty much going their way. There were some shots that even like Dejanay Carrington was going down to the rim and just making some crazy wild shots that I think typically wouldn't go in. But of course, that game, it was just their day for everybody to go off. So we'll go over some of those things, break down the game, and then we'll talk a little bit about unprofessionalism in the WNBA, because it just seems like this league it's messy. Like, it's just not a good league. It's not very professional. It's not very competent. It's just terrible. So I don't know. It seems like the league as a whole needs some major improvements. We'll talk about some of those things after we do our initial breakdown. And then we'll wrap it up. This won't be too much. I don't think this will be too long of a video. Then we'll go over some key plays that happened during the game that I think kind of shifted the game and just changed the energy about the entire game. So we'll just go over some of these plays as they happen, and then we'll talk about the way ahead and maybe what are some adjustments that the Fever should make, and what are some of the things that how they should approach the Sun moving forward. So let's start with some of the statistics. All right, so here we go. Here we have some of the team stats from the game. As we can see here on this chart, the Fever, I think, led by 2, and as you see here, it was late in the second quarter. I'm going to show you a clip of what happened and why that went south right away. But yeah, they had a lead late in the second quarter to close the quarter, which is super important. And then they went down almost 10 points, right? So they were down, yeah, so 8 points at the half, which you could have been leading at the half, then you're down 8 at the half. So that was not good. But yeah, so 69-93. The Sun, took the rebounds, which during the season, the Fever were a better rebounding team than the Sun. And, they lost that battle by 7. It seems like the Sun were getting every offensive rebound, and the Fever could not get a defensive rebound to save their life. So that was not good. And then the assists, the Sun had more assists than the Fever. That is also, I think, not true for the entire regular season. The Fever had more assists than the Sun, and this was also backwards, where the Fever were the worst team in the WNBA in steals, and Connecticut Sun were second in the WNBA in steals, and this doesn't quite tell that story. Then 6 blocks for the Sun, 5 for the Fever, 10 turnovers to 13. So they really took care of the basketball. It wasn't a matter of them making too many turnovers. It's just that the Sun were making every shot imaginable, no matter if they were guarded or not. But we'll get into what happened there, or maybe what the approach should be moving forward. But yeah, they also shot 50% from three. Like, if you have 50% from three against 21% from three, I mean, that team is gonna win that every single time, right? That is not good. And then you look at some of these numbers. Actually, the Fever starters outscored the Sun starters. But again, look at this 3-point percentage. 16% from three for your starters against 75% from three from the Sun. They were just that much more effective. The starters were. And then of course we look at the bench, but this is all mostly Mabry, right? Mabry going off for 27 points. That was just, it's hard to overcome that when you have a player coming off the bench who's that on fire, right? But yeah, the bench play for the Sun clearly outplayed the bench play for the Fever. And this 15 points, this was pretty much all Dantas as well, the one who had the contributions off the bench. And we look at the box score, not good games at all across the board, right? So we have Lexi Hall, who, I mean, we could see that she had an impact. She was everywhere. She had all these steals, right? She was doing what she could to try to keep the Fever above water, but it wasn't working. But she had a really good game, 5 points, 4 steals, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Really good all around game. Missed the 2 threes that she took, and she had 2 pretty good looks, right? I mean, most of the threes that she takes, she's always wide open. So she's always going to take good shots. It's just that she wasn't making them. And really, no one from the Fever was making any shots. And then we had the Alyssa Smith situation, which, again, this goes to my unprofessionalism point as far as the WNBA and everything. And I'm not saying that they are unprofessional. It's just weird. It's just a weird dynamic to have Alyssa Smith and Dejanay Carrington and that entire situation where you're at playoff basketball. And I can just imagine. I mean, things are not weird for me, but I can imagine that things are weird on the floor. Um, it's just, I don't know. I think there's some sort of unwritten rule out there, like not to shit where you eat, and dating coworkers. And dating coworkers are just, within the same kind of like sports. It's just strange to me. It's just strange. So I don't know. Got to circumvent and work around that entire situation somehow. But anyway, she was extremely limited. She played even less than 9 minutes, which I think it's what you need, really. But I think it's time to make that adjustment. I think it's time for Christy Size to change the starting lineup already. I mean, what are you doing here? And I think Smith could be a little bit more effective if she came off the bench late in the first quarter and then playing a little bit into the second quarter. I think that works fine. That's okay. But playing her how she's playing her now is just, why in the starting lineup? Why? If you're gonna, you know that you're gonna limit her to her minutes like that, why the starting lineup? Why already start the game, from behind? Like, just start Fact Benley, close the quarters with Dantas, at least the second and fourth quarters, and just move on from that. And then not only Alyssa Smith, but then I also heard during the broadcast, yeah, I didn't know this, but apparently Elisa Thomas and Dewana Bonner, is that how you say her name? Yeah, Dewana Bonner, are engaged and have kids together. Like, what is happening? I just don't. That's just not very professional, in my opinion. But anyways, my opinion doesn't really matter. Aaliyah Boston, solid game. I mean, I thought she had one of the better games on the Fever. 17 points, 2 blocks, 3 assists, 11 rebounds. She did really well. 8 of 14. She was killing it in the first quarter, in the first half. Things changed a little bit in the second half, but first half super effective. Kelsey Mitchell apparently had 21 points, but they were not a significant 21 points. I did not feel those 21 points. It's just now that I look at the box score, I'm like, oh, okay, she scored 21 points, but I couldn't tell you. And it's interesting she had 4 turnovers against Kaylin Clark's 2, right? I think this is one of the, I mean, for playing against the Sun in playoff basketball in a playoff environment, to still have 8 assists and only 2 turnovers, that's crazy. That's major improvement from Kaylin Clark in that department. But then Kelsey Mitchell, it just seemed like every time she was handling the ball, she was throwing it away. Either she does that a lot where she dribbles the ball off her own foot. I don't know if I've seen somebody else do that as often as she does. So gotta limit the times that she's trying to create or dribble the basketball too much. So this is an okay game, I guess, but the 3-point shooting was the biggest thing in this game. I mean, they only hit 6 of 28. That's terrible, and then 9 of 18 for the Sun. But anyways, so that was Mitchell. Kaylin Clark had a really, well, not, I wouldn't say bad game, because again, uh, Mitchell's 21 points, and if you look at the box score, it would tell you that Mitchell had a better game than Clark, but that's not how it felt on the court. Of course, you could see that Clark was missing everything. She missed, I mean, what, 11 threes? So she was missing a lot, but she still seemed effective on the court. It's not like she was ineffective or you wanted her to stop doing any particular things. No, she was doing what she always does, and it's effective. It's just that the shots weren't falling. But if the shots were falling, say she made 6 threes out of these 13 that she shot, I mean, that's already a huge difference there, right? You're talking about 12 points. So it's a bit of a difference in the game if she's hitting the threes. But yeah, 11 points, 3 steals, pretty good. 2 turnovers, like we said, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Not too bad. So I'm not going to go too crazy on her. In fact, Benley, 12 minutes. I really didn't, I don't know. I barely noticed Fact Bentley in the game. Dantas had a really good game. I think she has to continue to get all those minutes, but especially with those lineups where Aaliyah Boston is also on the floor. I think that's when she's most effective. But that lineup that I tend to advocate for the most, the Dantas, Boston, Hole, Mitchell, Clark lineup, they got destroyed today in the fourth quarter. They did well. They did okay in the second quarter, but in the fourth quarter they got rocked. And a lot of that had to do with just Mabry going off. There was just no stopping that. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And then yeah, I mean the game really, we're gonna see the clip, but the game changed, and the game, I think we lost. The Fever lost the game in that second quarter. That second quarter when they were winning by 2, Lexi Hull gets her third foul. They put in Katie Samuelson, and then now you're down 8. So you see this -10. These -10 in 4 minutes, the Fever was up 2. She comes in the game, and they go into halftime down 8. This was the problem. I'm not saying that Katie Lou was the problem, but maybe there was a better option instead of Katie Lou. Maybe Erica Wheeler should have been the one to come in at that time. But this wasn't the best move. And I mean, it's hard. I don't know. If I was Christy Sides, would I have done it differently? Hindsight's 2020 now, but Lexi Ho's in foul trouble. You have to put someone else in. You're not gonna put in Smith. So that's out the question. She already getting burned for putting in Christy Wallace, so that's out the question. So she put in Katie Lou. Maybe was the most logical decision at that point. It's hard to tell that thing's gonna turn around that much. But now looking back, I think she should have went with Wheeler. Wheeler should have been the better option. But that's it for the Fever side, and then of course Bonner had a Bonner. She won. She had a really good game. Really good game. 22 points, 2 blocks. So she was active defensively. 5 assists, 6 rebounds. So a 25-5 game. Thomas with her triple double, right? 12 points, 13 assists, 10 rebounds. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this now after I go through this box score. Brianna Jones, I don't know. She gets a lot of minutes, but I don't think she's that good. We'll get into all that. But yeah, anyways, she had 4 points, 5 turnovers from the center position. That's crazy. How you turn the ball over that many times from that position. And I mean, this is insane for Thomas to have 1 turnover to 13 assists. So that just tells you how she was carving up the defense with her passing. Carrington had a really good game, a lot better than she typically does. So 14 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds. She was active defensively as well. She had that one block on Fac Bentley, which I don't know how she blocks Fac Bentley. I think Carrington is like 5'11". Fac Bentley is like 6'5" or something. How do you do that? She was going up for the layup and the ball was down here. Like, keep that ball up. And then, of course, Mabry just went, I don't know. She went Steph Curry on him and went off 27 points. And she actually broke the record for most points scored by a player coming off the bench in WNBA history. So that was crazy. And then the bench, they were okay. But, I think, moving forward, there are only 2 players with the Connecticut Sun that you have to guard. That's it. It's only 2 players that you have to worry about, and that's Bonner and Mabry. Everybody else is they're mad offensively. They're not that good, and then you're allowing Thomas to carve you up like that. Stay with your person. I mean, that's pretty much what you got to do. So I think when Mabry comes into the game, you have to assign Kelsey Mitchell, someone who's fast and can get to the ball for those closeouts. Assign Kelsey Mitchell to Mabry and just, stuck to this person. Give her the Kaylin Clark treatment. Just stay stuck to Mabry. And then Lexi Hall on Bonner, and you should be good. Like, after that, these people, because they score mostly from the perimeter. Mabry's not going to go down there. Bonner doesn't barely goes down there. Plus, she's a little bit older. She's 37 years old. She doesn't have the motor or the engine. She played 30 minutes, which is, kind of a lot for her. But you can limit. Like, Lexi Hall can definitely give Bonner a difficult time. So assign Mitchell to Mabry. Bonner, Hall on Bonner. And let Thomas, whatever. If Thomas wants to score 30 points, let Thomas score 30 points. I'd rather Thomas scores 30 points than get 13 assists. Like, you can't allow that to happen. If she's getting 13 assists, that means she was dishing out to people who were wide open, who are getting threes. Like, limited threes. If Thomas wants to go crazy, just scoring on the paint, let's do that. She's not a scorer. She's terrible. Look, she's 6 of 15. She cannot have 13 assists. That doesn't make any sense. And here's the other thing. The WNBA is as backwards to me. Everything's backwards. There's really not, this team, okay, so let's really look at this team in the comparisons. Alyssa Thomas is essentially a poor men's or poor woman's Draymond Green. That's really who she is. And every year, somehow she's in the MVP conversation. Like, how in the world does that happen? Draymond Green would never sniff an MVP discussion. Ever. Ever. And I would say Alyssa Thomas is like Draymond Green. Like, it's not like she's a better comp to Draymond Green. That's what she is. So how is this Draymond Green type player destroying this league? They haven't figured it out. I don't get it. And outside of that, this team, this is just not impressive. Yeah, Mabry comes in, but Mabry only scores when she's wide open. All of these threes that she was hitting, just wide open. So you can't have Clark on Mabry. There is no way you should have Kaylin Clark guarding Mabry. That's why I'm saying put Mitchell so that Mitchell's stuck on Mabry and that's it. And that's her assignment. The problem with Clark is that she sacks off the defender too often. And I understand she's trying to get the rebound or she's trying to get and start the transition fast if there's a miss. But the sack, Clark needs to guard someone who is not that good or that lethal from 3. So definitely cannot guard Mabry. Or not that can't, but shouldn't, because she's unable to stay up with them all the way up there. So if you have Mitchell guarding Mabry on the perimeter, then Clark can sag off maybe, who is this other guard over here? Not Harris, but maybe Burton. Because they don't really have the only point guard is Thomas. So no one else can really move the ball except Thomas. And if Thomas has no one to pass, then this team is rendered useless. That's pretty much what you do. So I mean, if you put Mabry in with Carrington, Jones, Thomas, and Bonner, it's just Thomas the only one who's orchestrating the offense, and this is someone who can't shoot. It should be easy to guard this team. This is probably the easiest team to guard in the WNBA, and they haven't figured it out. So Mitchell, Mabry on the perimeter. That way, when Clark is sagging off and she gets the rebound, Mitchell can take off, and Mitchell is way faster than Mabry, so you're gonna be getting fast breaks left and right if you have already Mitchell living on the perimeter on the defensive side. So that's pretty much what you do. But this is not. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're really good. They're good together, but they carve up a young and inexperienced team like the Fever who don't know what they're doing. They feel like they need to guard everybody. You don't need to guard everybody. You don't even need to guard Carrington. Like, I don't give a shit. Have her shoot all her threes. She's not that good. I mean, she was hitting today, but that ain't gonna happen. So I don't know. I think that's my take on how you defend this team, really. Um, and you can score on them. Of course, you can score on them. They could have scored today. It's just that the Fever were not hitting shots. But this team, I mean, this team scoring 93 on you. This team averaged 80 points per game in the regular season, and then they come into the playoff and score 93. Come on, like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I mean, a lot of that is just preparation, knowing the personnel, but you should not be guarding Jones. You should not be guarding Carrington. You should not be guarding Harris. You should not be guarding Burton. Only guard Bonner and Mabry. That's it. That's all you need to guard. Bonner and Mabry. Mabry with Mitchell, so follows her everything. Give her the Kaylin Clark treatment. And Lexi Hall should take care of Bonner pretty easily. Let Alyssa Thomas do whatever the hell she wants. Who cares? Don't double team. Don't help off Bonner or off Jones. Your big should have a pretty easy day down low with guarding Thomas and Jones. If Thomas has no one to pass the ball to, she's nothing. But anyways, I do want to talk a little bit about all the issues that were happening with the game. So we'll go over the game a little bit. Yeah, so here off the bat, and here's what I mean also, like, sports, basketball, baseball, football, all of these sports, yes, of course, at the end of the day, it's skill and it's what you do on the floor and it's the preparation, but it's a lot of it is mental and psychological. And there are certain plays that kind of get you out of your rhythm, that steals the energy, that takes away your confidence, that, it just you start to worry about these other things instead of worrying about the game when stuff like this happen. And let's look at this foul that happened that they called initially on Boston, but it should be on Hall.
Here's Carrington hopping inside, floats it short, and the rebound controlled.
So this right here already, I mean, we could tell that Leah Boston was nowhere near the play. But here you have the refs calling the foul on Boston. And Boston's already like, so you can see her reaction here.
No, a late whistle goes against, looks like Boston. And an unfavorable whistle there for Indiana as it looked like.
Yeah. So she's reacting like, wait. On what? On who? On me?
The rebound had already been secured, and I thought if it was going to be on anyone, it'd be on Alyssa Smith. I mean, that's clearly not on Aaliyah Boston.
Not anywhere near there. They need to challenge that or at least get that call right.
And that's the problem, right? Like, off the bat, you're creating a challenge situation. Aaliyah Boston, who was focused and zeroed in on the game, now she's worried about, no, like, this is not my foul. So you're already out of your element. This affects, people think that it doesn't, but this affects players, their mental state, their preparation. I mean, she really shouldn't have to go through this, and the coach shouldn't have to call timeout to challenge. Like, this is just extremely unprofessional, extremely incompetent. These things matter. That's why, to me, like, the outcome of this series, it could even start here, but then after that, there were a bunch of shot clock issues that were affecting the Fever. Those things mess with your preparation. It messes with your psychological preparation. It just messes with your confidence, because now you're like, oh man, these refs are so bad. Like, are we, we try to control what we can control, but there are some things out of our hands that are significant that we have no say in. Like all of these things matter and affects outcomes of games. But this is just really bad. I don't know how the league addresses this.
Boston, she's begging for the challenge.
That is not a foul on Aaliyah Boston. And Christy Sides is going to use her challenge right away.
It's just bad. It's just all around bad. It's unprofessional. This league needs so much work. I don't know what they do to fix it. Well, I know what you do to fix it. You have to hit the reset, fire everybody, and start all over again. This rebound by Lexi Hall, like where she came out of nowhere to get that rebound, and then they scored on display. This thing was fantastic. This is one of the things that makes Lexi Hall so great. But check this out. This shit's just awesome to watch over and over again.
They gave Indiana a full shot clock. Mitchell's three, short. Hole, another offensive rebound. Here's Mitchell burning inside.
So awesome. So let's look at the score right here, right? So this is, the score is 34-34, 3 minutes, 55 seconds left in the second quarter.
Rebound caroms out to Hull. Here is Clark, semi-transition. Dumping it inside. Boston lays it in on the Clark dime. And Indiana.
So Indiana has the lead, 36-34. 3 minutes and 43 seconds in the second quarter. Let's see what happens. Now let's look at this play, because this was a foul called on Lexi Hall, and this really affected, in my opinion, the entire outcome. This play right here is was the most important play of the entire game. If this doesn't happen, I think the Fever win this game. Check it out.
Mitchell hopping through traffic. Off to Boston. Clark thought about it. Will fire. Can't hit. Now 0 for 5 from deep.
Was that really a foul on Lexi Hall?
And a whistle is going to be against.
That was not a foul on Lexi Hall. Check this out. There's a replay
here.
here.
Her third.
Of course, they didn't have a replay for this foul, but look at it. I mean, we can look at it in slow motion. Okay, here we go. Let's check it out. Let's see, who is this foul on, really? I mean, I know you don't have the benefit, the refs don't have the benefit, but maybe this was another one. And here's the other thing, right? Would Christy Sides have called challenge on this play if she didn't have already wasted one challenge on the previous play? Because now you got to save your challenges, right, to the third, fourth quarter, because you never know. But if she had 2 challenges instead of 1, would she have challenged this? See, like that, the refs calling the foul on the wrong player and then having to challenge that now cost them the opportunity to review this one. Like, that's just how big of freaking calls those are through the incompetence of these freaking refs. But let's look at this. You tell me again if this foul was on Lexi Hall. That foul was absolutely not on Lexi Hall. Absolutely not on Lexi Hall. Like, the person leaning into, that ran into Lexi Hall, it was Dejanay Carrington the whole entire time. Now, the game is tied 36-36. Lexi Hall leaves. They put in Katie Lou Samuelson. And then the Fever are going into halftime down 8 instead of actually potentially leading by a lot more than that. So this was the moment. This where the Fever lost this game. All right. So yeah. So essentially the Fever have some adjustments to make, and some of those adjustments that I think again that need to happen are, you need to start Fag Benley and just bench Nelissa Smith from the beginning, and then you gotta have Mitchell on Mabry. The only person that you need to guard, the only 2 people that you need to guard from the Connecticut Sun are Mabry and Bonner. That's it. You don't have to guard anybody else. Let them score. I don't care. Carrington, she want to score 30, score 30. Thomas, you want to score 50, score 50. She's not, right? Thomas is just looking to pass. She's never really looking to score. She's just not. She's not good. She's not a good scorer. I mean, score 50. I don't care. We'll live with that. But now with Mabry going off, knowing that Mabry is their best shooter or their best scorer, or with Bonner even, and then just put Lexi Hall on Bonner and call it a day. That should be those adjustments, I think, and you win. You're good, and then you start making your threes, and you should be good to go. The problem is you can't control the refs, you can't control the shot clock, you can't control all these other things that happen that kind of get on you. As far as Christy Sides, I don't think it was a bad game from Christy Sides, other than, you know, making sure Mabry doesn't go off, making sure Bonner doesn't go off, and allow Thomas to just do whatever she wants without involving others. But as far as the lineups, I thought they were good. Outside of starting Smith, you know, she was finishing the second quarter with the Dantas lineup, and then also she tried to finish the fourth quarter with the Dantas lineup. But at that point, it was too late. Mabry was hot, and there was no stopping it, right? And you already off, so yeah, that's my video. Those are my thoughts. I'm really hoping that the Fever win on Wednesday. I don't want the season to end just yet, but anyways, let's not think about that. I think the Fever can win this game, can win this series. Let's just hope they make adjustments and they start making shots, and it should be a totally different game come Wednesday. So if you enjoyed the video, I think at this point I am about 267 subscribers. So if you want to help me get those numbers up a little bit, just so more people get exposed to some of these videos and these analysis, just please go ahead and like the video and subscribe. But again, thank you. I appreciate all of your support and the support that you've shown to my recent videos as well. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.